Hi, my name is Kevin Leeman. I just want to make a quick video about Pinellas County, Florida. And I lived there and worked there for about 10 years. I was a small business owner. I did a lot of flooring jobs there. I was a member of Better Business Bureau. My company was called St. Petersburg Floor Installations. And I worked for a few other companies too for a very long time in Pinellas County. And anyways, I decided to do some traveling, and I traveled around the country. And I've been to a lot of states, a lot of cities and states where I lived and worked as a flooring installer. And I spent some time in Oregon and Washington, and I was doing flooring work. I actually did a lot of flooring jobs for some famous people too. And anyways, when I went back to Pinellas County, Florida, I spent some time in Astoria and Seaside and Tillamook, Oregon. And when I got back to Pinellas County, Florida, well, there was a man from Washington State who was so angry with me that he was telling people to poison my food. And when I went back to Pinellas County, I was arrested for being angry about the food, about people poisoning my food. So I got arrested in a non-violent way. Pinellas County Jail put me in a jail cell naked when I got arrested for being upset about my food. And I was poisoned so severely that I'm blind in my left eye. They put me in the emergency room. The day I got out of the emergency room, I was at the day I got out of jail, I was at the emergency room suffering from a serious eye injury. 2 days later, I went to New York and I called law firms in Florida and a bunch of law firms in New York. I went back to Florida. I was in Pinellas County for about 10 days and I was blind in my left eye. This is 2 months after the Pinellas County Jail put me in the hospital with a serious eye injury. I'm blind in my left eye. But let me just tell you about another incident that happened when I got back from Tillamook, Oregon and Washington State. Another incident happened where I was angry about getting poisoned. Not only that, but the community was getting poisoned. I became angry and I made a scene at the grocery store. Two incidents happened. One of those incidents is getting arrested blinded me at the county jail. I had a black eye the last week I was at that county jail. And another incident that happened while I was in Pinellas County, I got arrested at a drive-through at a fast food restaurant after getting poisoned. They put me in a jail cell naked. I had no clothing and no blanket because I broke a drive-through sign. I didn't hurt anybody, I didn't threaten anybody. I got poisoned, so I broke a drive-through sign. Pinellas County Jail put me in a jail cell naked over this. Okay? And then my public defenders talked me into pleading not guilty. I pled I was trying to plead no contest. My public defenders, two women, they talked me into pleading not guilty, and I went with their advice, and immediately I realized the mistake in taking their advice. They wanted me to talk to a courthouse psychologist who called me delusional because I said I was getting poisoned. They sent me to death row. Chattahoochee State Hospital is death row. They called me incompetent to stand trial. When I got there, they petitioned the state of Florida 3 times, calling me schizophrenic, psychotic, bipolar, delusional, and incompetent. Now, a very real, very technical term for what they did to me, it's called conspiracy to commit murder on Kevin Leeman. And they sent me to death row to be kept there indefinitely and euthanized by the state of Florida. And the only reason I didn't get euthanized by Chattahoochee State Hospital is because the Florida state attorney didn't want to take part in this conspiracy, so they didn't show up for the psychiatric hearings. And I was only there 10 months. 3 times they tried to get permission from the state of Florida. I'm none of those things. I'm not schizophrenic, psychotic, delusional, bipolar, or incompetent. No. I was in Tillamook, Oregon, Astoria, Oregon, and Seaside, Oregon, learning a whole lot about sex trafficking, drug trafficking, abduction, rape, and murder. And when I got back to Florida, yeah, they almost killed me. And this was a Pinellas County where I had lived and worked for about 10 years, and I wasn't using drugs, I wasn't having sex. No, I was just going to work, and I was raising 2 little boys, my 2 nephews. And we spent a lot of time on our boat or at the beach or out by the swimming pool barbecuing on weekends. 5 or 6 days a week I was at work every single day. And that's all I was doing for 10 years. But when I went to Oregon and then I went back, I was sent to death row. And when I got out, I got arrested again. I was blinded by the Pinellas County Jail. Now, the state of Florida owes me a lot of money, and they're gonna pay. I'm still looking for representation, and it's not easy. The law says I have to find legal representation that's licensed in the same state that you're suing. It's impossible. So I'm gonna try to find representation in another state. My name is Kevin Leeman. Thank you.